past few weeks, I've been building a whole bunch of apartment buildings. However, that was before The Sims 4 For Rent released, so today we're going to be converting them all into functional apartment buildings. So this was one of the first builds I did once we knew For Rent was coming. It's a very small apartment building. This whole place actually costs under 20,000 simoleons. So you could buy this entire building, this entire lot, and actually start being a landlord right away. So let's actually make it into an apartment building. So to do it, it's pretty simple. You just go to the lot type and change it to residential rental. From here, all you have to do is select a room, and you can click on this little share drop down and you can actually add a new unit. And these names are just based on the lot name. And actually at the moment, there's kind of a bug with lot names. This is clearly called starter apartments, so it should probably be one starter apartments, but the name doesn't really matter. So you can just click on that. That'll create a new unit. And then any other room you want to be part of this unit, you just click on that room as well. And you click the same name and you just go through and do that. And now all of this is part of one unit. To add in another one, for example, this one over here, we just click on the empty space and click create unit. This will give it a new color so it's distinct and you can easily tell that it's separate. And then the same thing, we just sort of go through and click on each of those spaces to designate that as a unit. And over in our lot panel, we can actually go into unit configuration, and every unit will have their own lot traits and their own lot challenges, all distinct from all the other ones. I don't think we should have a lot of positive lot traits here. Like, I don't think practicing charisma, comedy, or mischief is better in this apartment, for example. And I don't know about romantic aura. In fact, it should be like negative romantic aura. Bracing bruises are okay. I think it would be pretty drafty in here. But let's add a challenge. I feel like this particular unit, you know what? We're in San Sequoia. Quake zone, that makes sense. There you go. Gonna have maybe some earthquakes. And actually for the other unit, I'm gonna do the same thing. Both gonna have quake zone. But then this unit, this is the empty one, will have great acoustics. It has great acoustics because it's empty. There you go. And we do have this upstairs space, but clearly it's not finished. So I'm not actually going to designate this as a unit. So at the moment, we just have these two units. And I will actually set the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. So for example, this has one bed, one bath. And then I guess this technically has one bed, one bath, but it's also empty. But I'll say one bed, one bath. All right. So that's this one already done. Like, that's all we have to do. One thing we can actually add is the utilities. So we actually, now that we have those, water heater. So we can get the big water heater item. So this is the functional one. So this can break down in gameplay. And of course, we'll get the electrical fuse box. You don't have to add these. Lots actually don't require these. But if you want the gameplay associated with them breaking and having to fix them, you can add them in. And of course, you can make them look a little bit more worse for wear if you like to. So then that's that. This building is ready to go as an apartment building in our world. So the whole like residential rentals is not just for apartment buildings. Like here, for example, I built 4 townhouses based on the Painted Ladies from San Francisco. These are individual houses. They're actually not joined at all. They're actually all different heights as well. You see this staircase is taller than this one over here. And we actually have each individual mailboxes, which we could actually change to the new ones. I didn't do that in our last lot, but why don't we swap them out and use the new mailbox? You don't have to. You can actually use on any residential rental lot, you could use any mailbox. Like this one would work in an apartment building of like 100 apartments. You just need at least one mailbox of any style on the lot. But I mean, for visual sake, it's nice to have one for each of the apartments. These actually don't particularly fit that well along the edge there, but that's okay. Same with this lot, is exactly the same setup. You just go into here, residential rental, and then I'm going to go through. So we click on the room, we go number 1 Parkside Place, and I'm going to go add this one as well. And actually you'll see something a little different here. If you see this dotted line, it either usually means a balcony. So if I go actually add the front area, which I wouldn't recommend adding this front area because you kind of want the door, but let's just say I did. It kind of means it's like it's sort of more of an open space, like the dotted area. So I think in this case, this large room, because it has a big hole in it, I think I must have removed the ceiling. But if I actually say build ceiling here, but now that this is actually a ceilinged room, you can see it actually joins together like a room. To provide a bit of a clearer example of what I'm talking about, I've got 3 different blocks, as they're called in Sims 4. So a block is just something I can pick up with my hand and move around. Each of these are a block. They're all made up of the same elements. So this flat floor tile, you can actually just add walls to, and I can actually build a ceiling if I click on this yellow line. And you can see how this actually would make up that same piece. So what's happening with our apartment units, if we turn this into a rental, If I add this as a rental unit, it's actually incredibly hard to see the line. So I've gone to nighttime so you can see it. But because this is completely open, you can see a vague line of the space there. This one, if I add it, you'll see is similar, but it has a slightly thicker outline up the top. But because it has no ceiling, those lines are not solid. And then this one, if we add it, you can see it has solid lines because it has a ceiling. So now what's happening in our other build, when these two different types join together, it actually gives us a dotted line because there's a different form of block. What is happening in some builds, and this can happen in a lot of houses for a lot of reasons that you build, you might have a room above that one there that has no ceiling. So even though that this is above, and you can see there's now a floor there, and I guess technically you could say this room has a ceiling, this individual block, if I drag it out, still does not have a ceiling on it. And that's why we're getting those dotted lines. Now, it's not necessarily an issue at all. Like for gameplay wise, it won't break how the units work, but it can get very messy trying to look at all these dotted lines. So that's why I find it easier to click on this room and add a ceiling to it. And then you can see it becomes one big space rather than the divided rooms that we had. Hopefully that makes it a little clearer. And I've gone ahead and added the second house in here as well. It's pretty simple, just going through selecting all the rooms. And I guess I'll just do the other two as well. All right, so all 4 houses are now added, and you can see these lines that outline which unit is which actually kind of get pretty annoying when you have multiple units, especially this close together. But they are obviously helpful to know which one's which, but you can just turn off those overlays at any time by clicking this button, or you can press O on the keyboard. And then that just hides it, so it's not in the way all the time. On this last unit, we actually have a balcony at the back. I mean, they all have a balcony, but this one actually has furniture on it. And I actually set this as part of the unit. The other ones, I didn't bother doing it because there's nothing there, and it'll allow Sims to walk all the way up. However, I didn't want like the neighbors just walking over here and sitting on their table eating food. So I actually set that as part of that unit so that Sims won't just walk into this space unless they're allowed. So this first townhouse, which is fully under construction and renovation, it's got bracing breezes, and then it's got the filthy and the quake zone challenge. I figured this would be filthy, makes sense, and we're in San Sequoia again, so the whole idea of earthquakes, I think, is going to apply to all these builds that I have here. The second one, which is very blue but has a nice kids area down the bottom, I actually did sunny aspect and child's play, because we have a nice like kids area, I think, and it has the quake zone challenge. This next one has the homey one and the fast internet. They've seemed to have upgraded, maybe for the teen down here, but it is also quite cozy, you know, nice furnishings. And of course, it does have Quake Zone as a challenge. And then the last one, which is on the end, that has extra windows. This one has sunny aspect, natural light, and of course, Quake Zone. So before we move on to the next building, I just want to talk about deleting units. Whenever you create a residential rental, you'll always start with the first unit. There's always going to be one unit. You can't delete the first unit. So if I click delete on the first unit, it'll still exist and we won't be able to remove it. And you'll see here, if I remove this, it'll actually remove all the tiles in it, 0 tiles. And now that first house is no longer a unit, but it's still there because you always have to have at least one unit on a residential rental. And that's always going to be the first one. So really what you're going to want to do is if you delete the first one, you're still going to want to assign some rooms to number 1. But any of the others, you can go in here, click delete. I can remove that house there. It's completely gone. It will remove from the list. But this one is like your main unit. I hope that makes sense. But so you'll always have to use this first one. I can't get rid of it. And this button here, if you just kind of want to reset everything to the first unit, you can actually just click that and the entire lot is now all assigned to the first unit. So that will just like clear all other units. If you have a whole bunch of other units, you can just clear it that way. But I'm not entirely sure what the benefit of assigning everything to the first unit is. I guess you could have just a single lot with a single unit. Like you could just rent this unit as a sim. Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. You could actually just have a regular house, own that house as another player, and then another sim could just rent the house. Huh. Anyway, so that's how deleting works. It's a little funky. The first one here will never delete as long as it is a rental residential. So there you go. That's this lot here. The next one we're going to be turning into proper apartments is this building here, the Simconia, which if you haven't seen it, do check out that video. It was a great build and it was so much fun to do. I don't want to spoil the interior of this if you haven't seen it. But what I'm most excited about is actually playing in this building and being able to use like the library downstairs, the gym. We also have a spa at the back and an arcade as well. I think all these sort of communal spaces will be really good. But let's go ahead and actually turn these apartments into apartments. So we already have 4 apartments on this floor here already set up. This building actually comes with 7 apartments and the maximum you can have on a lot is actually 6. So we're going to be using a cheat to get around that too, which is going to be fun. Now, the last apartment in this building, which is number 7, is actually the entire top floor. So to add all of this is going to be a little bit different because now we actually can't add any more. It says you can only have 6 in residential rental. So what we're going to do, Control-Shift-C, we're going to type in bb.increase rental unit cap on, and then it'll say updated rental unit cap. Now what we can do, we should be able to click here, and now we can go add another unit. So this will just increase the unit. It's no longer limited. It is still limited by the number you can have in your save file, which in the game is 99. So across the entire save game, you can only have 99 units, which is a strange limit. I'm not really sure why it had to be limited in that way, rather than just like, if, you know, just try it, and if your game lags, maybe remove a few. But I have already seen mods coming out to increase that limit. I saw Twisted Mexi was already testing a mod for 250 per save. And keeping in mind, 250 residential units is potentially 8 Sims in every single one. That's giving you 2,000 Sims that could be living in those. So that's with the mod. If you're not using the mod, by default, 99 units, 8 Sims in each, you can have up to 792 Sims living there. So to be honest, I think it'll be okay. I don't think I'm personally going to run into an issue with a 100 unit cap. And if I do, I would just simply say, well, I'm not really living in this building. I'll just turn it back to a residential building, just unless I want to use it specifically for gameplay. So I don't know. I think it is a shame that they had to put that limit in. I feel like we didn't really need it unless they want to explain why. But then it's like with all these limits they add, I'm not sure why they can't just have a setting that lets me just override it in the game menu. So now I've got the whole building assigned to all the 7 different units. And like I said before, with all the different lines and highlights, it can actually get quite overwhelming. So pressing that button up top or pressing O really helps out. But one thing that is actually very useful, because now I want to go through and assign, you know, how many bedrooms and bathrooms are in each unit. Another way to easily do that, and also to make your computer run a little bit smoother on larger lots like this. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in this lot. We can actually just completely hide this apartment. So over here on the left, we've got these little eyeballs. If we click it, it will just deload everything in that apartment. And this is how, like, if you're playing in the game and you're renting this apartment, this is what it will look like. But in build mode, it's actually super useful to go through and do this as well. So now I only have number 1 loaded in, and we can easily see which unit number 1 is. It's easily got 2, you know, the 2 bedrooms, the 1 bathroom. It's really clear to see. So I'm going to go through and sort of go through each of these, loading in the ones we need to see at a time, and it'll make getting through it a lot easier. Now, I will say, just be careful when you get to, like, if you have a large one like this, because if I click this now, it does sort of chug in a little bit. I have had the game sort of freeze up as well. If that happens, just don't touch it, leave it, and it should come back. It's just because the game is trying to load up all the items again. I also want to talk about if you want to edit an apartment building. Obviously, you can go into this menu here, select the apartment you want to edit, and click the build button. Now that will load just the single apartment. So now we've loaded into the lot and we have the penthouse lot loaded, but all the other apartments are currently hidden. And I can click on them. I believe if there's tenants, it works differently, but there's no one living here yet. But I can click on them and it'll ask if I want to unhide it. I'll say yes. And then it'll like load in that apartment. But now this could be quite annoying if you want to edit the entire building. So then go around and click it all. And you can see it is a little laggy as I do this. So I find a better way to enter this lot and load everything is before clicking on any apartments here, you can actually just click directly on the build mode icon and that will load the entire building. Now we've loaded in again and you can actually see all the apartments have loaded up fully. One other thing I'd like to do is I've got a huge amount of family members living in this house here. This is from our Growing Together Let's Play. But I think it could be, because now that they're adults, it could actually be good to have them in separate households, but still living in the house. We could set up this house itself to just rent out the bedrooms. So actually, I want to explore that idea as well. So if we wanted to convert just a regular house, but rent out a bedroom or 2, I think that's also a really good use of this. If we just swap it over to a residential rental, this whole upstairs area, actually, we did use as an individual unit, essentially. Like we had one of our Sims living up here. This was like a nursery. They have their own bathroom and all that. So we could actually just make this its own unit. But I guess before I do that, I should make the regular household the number 1 unit. So if we want to rent out a room, we have to specify our own rooms as well. So I'm going to do that first. So for example, this is going to be part of the main house, and obviously our own bathroom as well. The laundry can be shared because laundry actually does work in shared spaces, which is actually pretty cool. So that will work. I don't think anyone's sleeping in here, so I'm going to leave that as a shared room. So we have one of our other Sims here, Oak. So this is actually going to be a different unit, and they can actually just rent that room themselves. And this is going to be another room over here, I believe. I think that's all we need. Let me have a look. Oh no, we also have, okay, so we've got 3 adult Sims here, Oak, Maple, and Cherry. So this is actually also going to be a unit here. So those 3 rooms. So what this is effectively done now is this is its own unit up top. The whole living space, this guest room, the gym, this living room here, and actually this bedroom is a spare room. This used to be my other Sims bedroom, but they're not here anymore. So they're all separate rooms. So now we can actually move those Sims into those out of the family, and they could each have families of 8 Sims living in them. Obviously, we won't do that. We also do have a fully contained tree house, which could again be, we could actually rent this out and make money on it. You know what? Let's do it. Make that number 5. Oh, wait. That was number 5. Sorry, no, this is going to be a new one. So this house actually has 6 units in it now that we can actually use. I don't know if I'm going to keep it like this, but I just want to see how having a huge house and having, you know, different generations of the family all living together actually works. Because in this is like an actual, in my mind, a practical application of it, is having a big family all living in one house, but, you know, having their own individual rooms. And now I can move each of them into their individual units. I should probably set up what the rent will be because I want them to live in the house for free because they're family. I don't really want them to pay, although we could make money that way. Yeah, we are the property owner. We are going to set up our agreements at $0 and our lease length is just going to be forever. Except for number 6. This is our tree house. We should actually rent that out. And that could be 7 days. No loud noises. No social events. Maximum occupancy. They can have pets. And they can have ghosts. So let's find someone to live here. Welcome, you can live there. All right, let me move in the rest of the family because I just want to see realistically how this is going to work because I'm a little worried with the tenant revolt system. Hopefully, if they're paying $0 rent, they wouldn't revolt. You know what I mean? Like they're living here for free. Ideally, that'd be great because then you could have like a family rental, $0. They don't revolt. That's how I hope it works anyway. I'm just going to let the game run for a bit. I want to see if we have any tenant issues with $0 rent. It is kind of funny now though. This is now our front door. So as you can see, Brody actually knocked on this door rather than, you know, this door. So that is an interesting issue, if you can call it that. I guess you could design it in a way where this was our unit, I guess, and then we could just set that as the front door. I don't know. Yeah, that's a little silly. Okay. This might require some experimentation. So I played for, 4 days or so, and I got this pop-up that says lease break. So one of my family members is just breaking their lease and moving out, even though the rent was free. And they said, we express our gratitude for the less than satisfactory residential experience, which, by the way, all the ratings are going up. And I should point out that I have neighborhood stories disabled for all of my households, which includes moving in and moving out. So that's not related to neighborhood stories. And just to confirm, the sim moving out is this sim, Oak, who is one of my played households. So them deciding to move out is a result of the tenant events. So what that means is you're going to want to go into game options, pack settings, and then go down till you find for rent. And then here, enable rental unit events. So this prevents new residential rental unit events from starting, which I believe would include the tenants breaking lease, and I believe should also include the tenant revolts, as they are all tenant events and rental unit events. So if you just turn that off, then they'll just live there. I think it'll be fine. You won't have to worry about anything. But it does also mean you won't get any other events anywhere in your game, because obviously this is for the whole save game. So I don't know. I'm not sure the best way around that, but that's, I guess, what you'd have to do. I think I'll leave this video here. I am keen to test this more though, to see if it actually works for like a family gameplay like this, because that means in your active household, you could still have 8 Sims. And if you wanted more Sims, like more babies or pets, you could actually just put them in an extra room and be on the same lot, and they would still show up in the area, which, as you can see, they're kind of all hanging out around here. So I think it is very possible. But if you have any experiences with already doing this, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd be curious to know how this works. Because I think this kind of gameplay has a lot of potential to having like really big families on one lot. But thank you so much to my top level members, and of course to all my members that are supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And to everyone else, make sure to stay tuned, because very, very shortly, our Let's Play for The Sims 4 For Rent will be starting, like really shortly, like this coming week. Shortly. It's going to be good. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave your comments, suggestions, and feedback down below. I'll see you next time, and have an awesome day.